Hey guys, let's talk about musicals. Musicals used to be a lot more prevalent, I think, like way, way back. Like Singing in the Rain, Sound of Music, things like that. But there have always been movies that are kind of musicals or feature musical numbers to them. Like maybe they're not like all singing, but then they've got like some really great musical numbers. But over the years, I feel like every decade has had like really big musical hits that are just kind of iconic. So you have like Singing in the Rain. You have, I don't know if you'd consider Wizard of Oz. I think I would. The Wiz. um, Grease, West Side Story, Sound of Music. And then you get into like Hairspray, West Side Story. Did I already say that one? Just so many favorites. And then you have some Broadway plays that were turned into famous movies like Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis. What else have we got? My brain is stalling. Into the Woods. Just all kinds of great musical movies. So I grew up with 3 channels, I think. And then we bought, this was before the VCRs came out, but there was a video disc that was basically like a record inside a plastic case, and you never saw what it looked like. You would slide it in and slide it back out, and they were called video discs. These were not Blu-rays, these were not DVDs, this was before VCRs, and you could rent this video disc player, and they were all like albums. Well, my parents still have the video disc, and I think that came out when I was, well, I don't know when it came out, but it was kind of more popular briefly when I was in like 5th and 6th grade, and my parents would rent the player, and then eventually they bought one. And we have Grease, 16 Candles, Footloose, Empire Strikes Back. We have all of these great movies that we owned on this video disc player, and we did not play them very often. We did not buy them very often because they were expensive. We did not have a whole lot of money growing up, but my dad wanted to, have this thing, and we all had like our own like 2 or 3 movies that we would watch all the time. And one of the ones that we bought was Singing in the Rain. And my brother and I have probably seen Singing in the Rain, I would say probably 300 times in our childhood, and even more as adults. Gene Kelly became one of my favorite actors, dancers, singers. Of course, Princess Leia's mom, Debbie Reynolds, is in Singing in the Rain, and Sid Charisse, the lovely Sid Charisse, Donald O'Connor. Just a classic movie. I love so much about it. As we got older, there were not as many musicals. They were kind of hit or miss. They're kind of seen as kind of cheesy. And then the magic happened. This was in 2016. La La Land came out. La La Land starring Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. And it is a masterpiece. Now, this is also well known for the controversial, it almost won an Oscar, it didn't win an Oscar, and ended up going to Moonlight, I think. Ryan Gosling famously reacted to it. He just found the whole thing kind of weird and funny, and so anyway, they read the wrong one. It did win some Oscars, but it did not win Best Picture. I loved this movie. I thought for sure it was going to win Best Picture. I remember going to see this with my daughter, and it was just the best. And I found it so inspiring. The interesting thing about this movie, spoiler alert, is it is not really a romance, not in the way that you would think. And it pays tribute to so many classic movies that I don't even know, like I've never even seen like a comprehensive list of all the things that it pays tribute to. And I'm learning more and more, like as I go along through the years and kind of get on my little rabbit trails, I learn more and more about what La La Land has to offer. Obviously, there's some Singing in the Rain style tributes. There are tributes to some of the Audrey Hepburn movies. I think Funny Face. There's a lot of outfits and places. Rebel Without a Cause, the planetarium. A lot of nods to classic cinema. And Rebel Without a Cause is actually spoken about quite a bit in this movie, where the characters actually go and see the movie in the theater, and they talk about the old movies, their love of movies. This movie, more than anything else, is about ambition and dreams and goals. Now, I could argue with you all day about whether or not, the ending is good or not. But I will tell you that I did not realize there is a French film, and I do not have the name of it, and I really wish I had written it down, but it's something about umbrellas. It might be The Umbrella Store, but it is in French. It is a musical, and if anyone knows the name of it, please comment below. It's a famous movie. I think it's called The Umbrella Shop. It's a musical, and they sing throughout, and it's basically about a young girl. She ends up getting pregnant, and he goes away to war. A lot of things happen. The mother kind of pushes her in a direction. He gets pushed in a direction. It ends up having a different ending than you would hope. But then it has like a weird alternate ending that kind of feeds through. It's the way that they did this, and the way that they did the end of La La Land, it's clearly a tribute to that movie. And I'd love some feedback on it. If you guys watch La La Land and then watch The Umbrella, I think it was The Umbrella Shop. I'll look it up. I'll try to find it. But those two movies together, it's amazing. So if you love La La Land, which I hope you do, then you've got to see that movie, because it's perfect. It's a perfect companion piece to it. This soundtrack is incredible. I love the soundtrack. I love everything about it. If you don't like the movie, if you haven't seen the movie, you may not like the soundtrack. I'm not sure how standalone it is. There's a lot of instrumental stuff on it. Of course, there's some duets with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling does sing, so does Emma Stone. And they did before this movie. Also, John Legend is featured in this movie, so he is also on the soundtrack. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie about dreams. It'll rip your heart out, yeah, but a lot of my favorite movies do. And I watch this movie so often, I think that it concerns people. But I love this movie, and I like how they did it, because I don't feel like it's a typical what you would expect to happen. I think it's not, I wouldn't call it a surprise ending, but I would say that it's not the ending that you'd expect, but it's probably the ending that's realistic when we talk about our dreams, our ambitions, and the things that we're going for. And this movie meant one thing to me before my divorce, and it meant one thing to me after my divorce. I think when I was married for 25 years, and I was like, it's us against the world, and we're all in, and these are our dreams, and this is what we want, and this is what we're going for. And if they were not lining up, I would kind of stress out. And then I saw this movie, and I was like, oh, they kind of got what they wanted later. And it kind of stressed me out, because it wasn't the story that I wanted. But then after, I'm seeing that it had to happen that way. Or, we could argue whether or not it had to happen that way. But in my own life, I think it had to happen that way. I had to break from what I had, and it had to be kind of forced out of what I had, because in the end, ultimately, I was not the one that chose the divorce, but it was the best thing for me mentally. And I can't even tell you how I have grown mentally, physically, spiritually as a person since this happened. My relationships are stronger with everyone except my ex-husband. Although my ex-husband and I have come to terms with the fact that we can have conversations, we can joke around about stuff. It's not at all hostile. I have my opinions. I have my feelings from the past of things that I kind of hold on to that I think were incredibly unfair, but we have found a place where we can exist in our daughters' lives and in each other's lives in a peaceful way. So, La La Land, I'm curious what you guys think. Musically, I love it. I think you almost have to have the, I don't know if it's a standalone. I think a lot of musicals, though, I don't really think of them as standalone albums. I think when you hear the music, at least for me, when I hear the music of a soundtrack, I'm thinking about the scenes from the movie, and I'm thinking about the characters, and I'm kind of replaying the movie in my head, as opposed to some movies that are, you know, the songs themselves have a whole story. But La La Land, I love to see this whole trend of musicals coming back. Obviously, Wicked has brought music back into the spotlight for movies and for younger people to go and see the movies. They're having a lot of fun with this and the sequel and all of that. And what's the other one? And then, of course, A Star is Born, Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper, that also about the same time as La La Land, and brought a ton of attention to soundtracks and music and movies. And music and movies are two things that I love. Another thing that I love is polka dots. I hope that you guys have a fabulous day. I hope that you will go and watch the Umbrella Shop movie that I can't think of the name, but it's French, and La La Land, and give the soundtrack a listen. Maybe after you see the movie. I love you guys. Take care.